They've got an amazing guest with us, Mr. Andy Dunlop.
How you doing?
We could superimpose some like incredible sound effects and yeah, all that kind of stuff, can't we? You know, Andy, how are you?
I'm very, very well, thank you.
Run off your feet.
Yeah, busy at the moment, but it's good. Good to be
Lots
busy.
and lots of stuff. Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Nice to be out of the house. The last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, right? Yeah. What have you been up to? What have you been doing?
Well, as you know, been teaching.
Yes. Yes.
Teaching. Still writing with loads of people. I'm writing for a project called St Albans, which is a Northern Ireland singer. Writing for stuff for Travis at the moment. Getting ready for a touring next year. This year,
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Apart from that, I'm doing something. I illustrated a kid's book as well in that time.
Oh yeah. How's that going?
It seems to be all right. Yeah, you know. I mean,
I can't believe that you're an illustrator as well. That's
once I did that, I just let it go. You know, I mean, that is it. You know, I've nothing else to. Well, I've got the next one to do in a couple of months' time. You know what I mean? But
where can we find it?
It's on Amazon. It's
just on Amazon.
Chef Vegano and
okay.
No, Chef Animal. Chef Animal. It's called.
Chef Animal. Okay.
Animal, and it's a vegan sort of recipe book, but with adventures in it as well.
Fantastic.
It's great, you know. So I like to keep myself busy.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Well, today's episode then is that what I was explaining to you before, just like. I kind of there's a million things that I can talk about in the context of the inner melody, with it being, you know, how does music affect life? That's what we're talking about. But the thing that we were sharing whiskey, and it was very tasty whisky, and it was,
whiskey
you know,
is tasty whiskey.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. I'll get a bottle for you, you know, in a minute. And you know. I was going through sort of just before the just when you said, you know, that'd be great. Well, let's do a podcast. I was sort of going through some of your videos and some of the things for Travis in particular, and it occurred to me the Sing video. You're all sat around the you know, you're all hurling a load of food at each other and stuff like that.
It was.
I bet that was amazing. It
was hilarious for the first couple of days. By day 3, it smelled like shit. It was real cream and things like that, and real. Is
it you who's flying across the camera with the spaghetti?
Yeah.
And you're lashing the spaghetti.
Yeah. I did the flying. It was funny. The directors for that were brilliant. It's Jonathan and Valerie Dayton, who went on to do that Little Miss Sunshine. Remember that movie?
Yeah,
that was it. That was them.
That's one of my favourite movies.
Yeah, that was your first movie after that.
That's one of my favourite movies.
And the mansion we're in is the Guns N' Roses one. I think it's September Rain video. That's that mansion.
They did.
Yep. And the monkey's the one from Friends.
Wow.
So there's quite a lot of things. Because it's funny, because you think the monkey from Friends, he's a professional actor, isn't he?
Yeah.
And so you went up and you sort of smile, and the handlers were going, "Don't smile at the monkey." And I was like, "What is this a monkey from Friends?" And he's like, "No, he'll attack you."
Oh my God.
You smile at a monkey and it's baring teeth at it. It thinks you're coming to attack it. Monkey from Friends is feral? How was it that? That can't be right. I just imagine it having its own trailer, smoking a cigar, just like that.
We need a whole separate night out to discuss this monkey, you know, at some point.
And the funnest bit of that was we recreated it for a Top of the Pops. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's hilarious. Because we kind of, when we were coming through in the 90s, everyone wanted to play live in Top of the Pops, and we were like, nah, we don't want to play live. We want to just have a laugh.
Interesting, because Top of the Pops was all about miming, wasn't it? It was all about like all the bands just being in sync for the TV. Yeah.
In the 90s, all these bands started going, we want to play live. We're a real band, and everything. We're like, screw that. We want to just have a laugh. So we recreated the food fight on stage, and it was custard boy, you know, the fake pie things on stage, and it was so slippy. We're all, if you watch it, you can see they're all just trying to stand up properly. It's just like the stage was getting just like this ice rink by the end of it. It's great. It's so much fun. Yeah. Someone was saying there was a program or a YouTube thing on, and it was the number 2 moment in Top of the Pops on it.
Really. That's an honour. That's amazing.
That's
good, that's an honour.
So it was. We were right not to play live. The funniest Top of the Pops we ever had was Prince was on before us, and he was miming everything except his guitar.
Really?
Yes, so the vocals were mimed, the backing track was mimed, but he wanted to play guitar live. So he'd come on stage, and they'd set you up on your stage while you were, because we were on after him. About an hour, he'd come up, he'd start playing, doing the song, and then he'd put his guitar down and then just walk off stage again. And this happened for a bit, and we were just standing on stage, like numpties, like, come on. And I don't know what was wrong with him, but
that sounds exactly like the sort of thing that Prince would do as well. You know,
probably nothing was wrong. He probably just likes to do that.
He just wanted to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was made up because I was watching Prince.
That's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I was watching like those videos, and I was going over just some of the songs and all that kind of stuff. Like Travis has just got such an amazing back catalogue of stuff. But one of the things that occurred to me to talk to you about was in the context of all this stuff is how important your taste is in developing. It's your songwriting, but how like all of that affects life stuff as well.
Oh no, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it was funny. But I mean, before I met the guys, I was a rock kid first off.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did it all begin for you, and like how did you get into?
When I was younger, it was classical music was all I was interested in.
Right.
When I was little.
Right.
My mum said all I would listen to is classical music. That was all I was into, and then that sort of fed in when I was about 11 or 12 to like proper rock music, like AC/DC. That sort of. My first gig at 12 was Status Quo.
Amazing.
In the Glasgow Apollo, and that was
amazing.
And it was just so noisy that
I bet it was great. I bet it was great.
So loud, and this place was bound. And me and my mate, his dad took us. We were 12, and we had the little denim jackets on with all the patches on and things. And his dad went because the Apollo wasn't a massive venue, It was, you could see it. So he said, "Okay, you two go down the front if you want. I'll wait here." And it was seated, so he could see where we were. And these bikers put us up on their shoulders. Big massive biker. So the whole gig we spent on these bikers' shoulders, just as we 12-year-old kids, just like waving at stage, and it was so loud, and I was like, "Oh, this is what I like now,"
I love that feeling, and it's just like absorbing.
You can feel it as well. Yeah. It's just like, I wasn't totally into rock. It was like Queen, Status Quo, Black Sabbath, AC/DC was a big one for me, and then sort of once I met Fran and I started getting into like more to like the band, Dylan, Joni Mitchell and everything.
Yeah.
And then that's when I sort of had a musical awakening. I was like, oh, right, okay.
Because you had a different taste to you, basically. Yeah.
And that's what I like. I mean, Dougie came from totally, he was like a big Bowie fan.
Right.
Fran was very much into sort of American folk, and sort of like, Joni and him. Neil's jazz, he loves jazz and sort of like, more complicated. So we all came together and we all sort of like listened to each other's tastes. It's funny, because I was talking to, I can't remember, so I think one of the students or something.
Yeah.
I was like, it's really hard for you guys, because when I was young, you'd have 4 or 5 records, and you'd make a friend because they had 4 or 5 records, and you'd influence each other. And you'd listen to music through speakers.
So taste would almost kind of like influence your friends and vice versa. Yeah.
And also, if you were listening to something, you'd very rarely listen to something in headphones. It was only when Walkmans came out in the 80s, and that was only when you went out the house. You wouldn't listen to things on headphones in the house. You wouldn't dream of it, You just put music on.
Yeah, definitely.
So therefore, like when you were with friends, music was a sort of communal thing. Now nobody shares music.
No, definitely, and it's so easy to skip music now, isn't it? There's you were talking about this, the Spotify algorithm, or
and they say there's a certain amount of seconds you've got to have vocals in.
Within 3 seconds or something, you have to have vocals happening on any sort of
switch off, which is imagine Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
I know, no. Well, it just wouldn't happen. That's the reality. Like all that great stuff. The epic albums like The Wall and all that kind of stuff. None of that would kind of really take hold now.
It was a few months back, and I had a mate in Spotify. I did write to him and I went, "This is too much for people. Like, why don't you do it or why don't you make a version of it where it's like half the price or quarter the price, but you just pick 10 albums a month out of everything you've already got.
Yeah.
So you're picking from this warehouse of music, but for that month you've only got 10 records.
Yeah.
So you actually listen to them a bit.
Yeah.
And then you can pick another 10 the next month. So you still got the access to them. Because I love Spotify. I love the access you have to music.
It's incredible.
I've heard music
it's incredible.
I never would have heard in my life. I wouldn't have found those records naturally.
Yeah, definitely.
So there is stuff about it that's great, but it just needs to be curated slightly better.
Yeah.
It needs to be a bit more focused on listening to music.
Do you think it's? I find that interesting because, if I told someone, you've got access to this warehouse of music, you can pick any sweetie in the sweet shop, at all, but it's down to you what you choose and how often you do. Is that a question of it being curated, or is that a question of a person's taste that then says to them? I think because you're saying about a generational thing that's sort of like you grew up in that generation that said, I'm content with only having these records, and I want to do this because there's all this kind of social implication of making friends through music and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure if I could have afforded 1,000 records, I would have had 1,000 records.
Yeah.
But, you just didn't have access to that.
Yeah,
and it's weird as an artist as well. And when I'm talking to young artists, I'm like that. So if you brought out your album back in the day, you were up against my other 3 or 4 records, right? If I wanted to buy,
right.
Now you're up against the Beatles. Now you're up against the Rolling Stones because everyone's got those records in their collection.
That's it.
So you're up against the entire history of recorded music. If you want attention, someone's musical attention. which is really difficult.
100%. And for artists now, I think that's super, super difficult to try to.
I think that the idea of taste, and I love music across the board. I just like good music. So I still love cheesy music. I still listen to Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass.
Yeah.
Some days that's what I want to listen to.
Yeah.
Some days I'll listen to like really, Messiah and really sort of important classical pieces. Some days I'll just want to. Some days I want music to wash over me.
Yeah.
But so genre is quality. It's always important to me rather than genre. So in that sense of taste, it's a quality thing, and I think that's gone a little bit with the widespread, the quality of music.
Interesting. Yeah. Like so, the more widespread the access is to get music, the less taste people have. That's kind of it's kind of it, isn't it? Because you have so much access to everything that you kind of almost lose sight of what is good.
Funny enough, we were talking about the other day, and it's almost become fast food music,
right?
It's not a fine dining experience.
We were talking about Galway Girl.
Exactly. It's giving people a Big Mac because people will eat a Big Mac. You know what I mean? And it's fine. And once in a while, a Big Mac's lovely. Yeah. But it's more and more. That's just what they're giving them because of that. Oh, you like that? Have some more. So have some more of it. And those are easy to make. You know,
gorge on it. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's what music's kind of become. It's kind of fast food.
So something that I constantly get, because we're both doing stuff in education. So there's something that I constantly get asked by students, or whether they ask it or not, but I should have said challenged by students, is that if I mention something that is sort of outside of their peripheral vision, like, hey, you should check, like, for instance, classical music's a big one. Hey, you should check out Vaughan Williams, like the Larkus Ending or something, because it's just beautiful. Or you should check out, pick any, Handel's Messiah, anything. And you should check it out because the chords in it are wonderful. You'll learn loads of stuff about polyphony and harmony and all these wonderful things. Why wouldn't you listen? And so many of them do that. I like what I like. Thanks, Ben.
Funny enough, because you're dead on, and there is at one point in the first years, I'll take them and I'll go, listen to this classical record, right? Okay.
Right.
And listen to this pop record, and it's direct lifts. I've got about an hour and a half worth of direct lifts of classical music. And go, this is what you can get out of it. You know what I mean? It's beyond even what you'll get spiritually and culturally. And taste wise. Look at this. That you know that record, don't you? Well, that came from that.
Yeah, that's it.
And once you realise the link between them, they're like, all right, okay, maybe there is, sort of.
Do you think it's like just an academic understand? Like, okay, Andy, nice one. I can see that there's a link, but like for me, like I don't know if like taste in food. If I'm talking about like I love particular food or something. It's because genuinely that comes with my whole being. I just really, I can see that I love that.
But if you haven't been presented it in the right way, then it's like, like they say, the greatest violin player in the world could be living in Borneo and never seen a violin in his life. It's that thing. If they haven't been presented steak, you can go, okay, this is a Big Mac, but look, this is a steak. That's a bit inside a Big Mac, but this is a nicer version of it. And they'll go, oh, that's delicious. I've never seen one of these. And it's kind of leading them back to something that's sort of quality. That definitely was a starting point for that.
Yeah, definitely. That's interesting. It's such a big one for me, particularly with students of music. Like not just students, but like particularly music students. When you sort of the whole point of being learning music, or I'd have thought so, or at least enjoying music, is to open your mind to new music and to understand it. Because if you're into stuff that's tasty, it really like it's such a pleasure.
It informs everything you do. I make it my goal to try and find at least one record that will blow their mind. And go, right, okay, you're like this. Listen to this classic record.
I mean, like that Lawrence tune that you were playing the other day. Don't Lose Sight. So 100%. One of the first things I was saying was just like that's from gospel. It's just straight away. It's just like gospel kind of meets blues, meets all this kind of cool. Like it's kind of the guy singing is like Tom Walker sort of sounding vocals, and it's sort of like you make all the connections. You naturally make those connections back because you've got that knowledge. Like students don't. So you've got to lay the foundations of that. You've got to go, like, that links to that links to that. And then they can make that journey back. Do you think you can teach taste? Do you think you can teach it?
I think you can. I think you can introduce them to it. I don't think you can make them have it. But some of them just haven't been introduced to it. So it's like just inspiring people, isn't it? Exactly. As I say, you maybe when I was younger, you'd go around to someone's oldest house. Like when we were 15, 16, you go around to this guy 17, 18, and he'd have John Martin's Solidaire. And that was what introduced us to it.
Yeah,
but there's nobody like that, as I say, because music's become a very solitary thing. You listen to it on your earpods or whatever. Nobody's sharing.
It's sort of isolating.
You become islands of music rather than becoming continents of music.
I just look so on that point. There's a load of music at the moment that I would say it's made in that way as well, not just listened to, but it's sort of like this kind of situation where a group of guys in a studio get together, create a record, it goes off and it becomes a hit or something like that. But really, there's no sort of musical process happening. It's just kind of we're here with a computer and we make it. I can't, in that example, the Lawrence example, there's just nothing better to me than just like a group of people in a room making music, and it's an in the moment thing.
That happens to me daily. Speaking of that, so like here we go. Every day's a school day. That's what I was saying. You'll always learn stuff like from that. And I was looking at some more stuff last night at them, and then it got me onto Wolfpack, who I've never seen before.
Mate, amazing,
totally new
absolutely
to me.
Amazing.
Just one of those things I'd never come. And I watched the whole Madison Square Gardens.
That's so good. It's so good.
There's so much fun. There's so much joy in it. What they're creating.
That's it.
And it's so free and so honest but just guys having a laugh.
Yeah,
they're not trying to pretend. They're just enjoying themselves.
That's it. There's a musician friend of mine who was talking about them saying, there's no choruses, is there? And I was going, but is that the point?
Yeah.
Because that's not what they're aiming for.
They're aiming me smile for an hour and 45 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't pull it apart if it's good and it's fun. You don't need to pull it apart.
Exactly.
This is just good.
It's so the taste thing. I just find is so intrinsic to the way I look at music in general. Like so when I was growing up, my dad's a musician and he sort of introduced me to all kinds of different things because he loves everything from like prog rock to jazz to everything, and like I kind of got really into everything to do with like Stockeller Rosenberg, Birelli Legren, and like the Django Reinhardt and all that kind of gypsy jazz stuff. So when I was playing gigs and things, I was always aiming for the like, well, it's got to be technical. It's got to be technically, brilliant, whatever. And like actually the indie band thing and just seeing all that was kind of it didn't really float my boat, taste wise. And when I actually finally went out and, got to the age where you could go in bars and whatever like that, and I'd go and see a band and just the awesome power of a bass chorus. It's just like, it blew my head. I was just like, God, this is amazing. Just simple is better,
the thing was, it wasn't an option. I'm quite a simple player, but it's kind of that.
That's not true, Andy. I've seen you.
I've got my chops along the years, but it's kind of that thing that is, and I always say it again to the students, I say like that, stay in one note for as long as possible. Stay in one note for as long as humanly possible. When you move, it will sound amazing. The more notes you play, the harder it will be to impress people.
Well, where'd you go? Once you've gone, it's like, what
can you do that's better than that halfway through the gig?
That's it.
Do you know what I mean? So it's halfway through the song. So if you stay, and again, I love pedal point and bass. And it's and I have this whole like hour with the first two songs, and I'm like that, and I end it with "We Built This City" by Starship. And I'm like that. This is brilliant. And I know it's voted one of the worst songs of all time so many times. But if you listen to Starship and if you listen to the bass in the verse, it stays on one note all the way through the verse, and but then when it takes off in the pre-chorus, it's amazing. And it's that thing. It's that thing about movement in music. I think so many young people get caught up in chords and chord progressions and movement to me is what makes music interesting. Whether it stays still, whether it blossoms, whether it moves up the way or moves down the way in scale. That's where I find, and that's much more of a classical sentiment.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Where chords, it won't necessarily be about a G going to a D. It'll be from the G to the D. They'll do this descending thing where they move much more fluidly than you would say when you're playing a guitar. And that's just about the movement of it, and it's a feeling more than anything else. And that to me is where music gets really interesting.
100%. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. The feeling of it is more, I sort of like, we'll get into the sort of the life stuff with music in a second, because ultimately I don't think of anything to do with music now. I kind of used to, like what you were saying, like chops. I used to think in terms of just pure, I've got an ME modes, I've got an ME theory,
it's great to have that in your backpack.
It's great to have it, but I find now the only thing that guides me when I'm playing a song or when I'm writing a song or writing for someone else or on tour with someone or whatever it is, it's taste. It's that one thing of just being like, does it need all this? Does it,
you're not going to get stopped by someone halfway through a gig gig in the audience going, is that a major dominant?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Double stroke roll on there? No, I don't think.
It's just they're just going to either enjoy it or not, and that comes down to you enjoying it in the first place. If you do something and you think that's enjoyable for me to play and to listen back to, then hopefully somebody else is. That's really kind of that simple.
It's kind of almost irrelevant as well, isn't it? It is for me. Like whenever I'm playing, I kind of just think to myself, look, I'm playing from the heart, and I feel like this is tasteful, in terms of my sensibilities, and I actually think they'll enjoy it, but I'm not reliant on them enjoying it.
You can never know that. That's the one
you
thing
can never know.
You can never second guess what people will or won't like. But a good starting point is whether you do. And I think that's where taste becomes important for young musicians.
100%.
Because if they haven't got that taste to know, oh, I like that or I don't like that because they haven't heard it, then they can't make those informed decisions when they're playing an instrument.
Right.
Do you know, they can't go, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's kind of like you need to have that taste.
They don't know what nice is at that point.
So that's half the battle. I mean, I say half the thing about me, especially with the songwriting in the first year, is it's like a DJ. I'm just playing them decent stuff. I'm playing good shit to them and going, this is good, isn't it? Listen to this. This is good because it does this and this and this. Listen to this. This is good because it stays like this and then goes off like that.
That's
and
it.
it's just like almost introducing them to music. And going,
I mean, how many times have we talked about that where for a solo performance or something, one of the students or something has brought something in and we've gone, why are they into this? This is dreadful.
If it's bad in the first place, anything you do after that's informing everything you do. Because every time you sort of cover a song or work out a song, you're sitting in someone's shoes going, okay, what's it like to be them? And you're learning about being them. Of course. And then once you go to be you, you've learned something from that, and that's part of what makes you.
100%.
So if you haven't learned, and I'm not going to say the right things, because I can't tell people that's right or wrong. Everyone's got their own set of taste. But I know when something's good. There's music I don't like that I know is good.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
And I think that's when you sort of you think, okay, I'm all right. There's music I go, I know that's really good, and I know loads of people like it, but it's just not for me. Mm-hmm. And I can accept that, And so my taste isn't the arbiter. It's my taste, but it's knowing when something's good or not.
Right.
I think is maybe more important.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's probably a good way to sort of segue into the whole the life stuff. I would say I've made some good decisions in life and I've made some bad decisions in life with all kinds of exactly. And I would when I really think about it, I think it's almost kind of like it relates to that taste thing. It's what I thought was the sort of the real meaning of it all and the real kind of that's what good life. That's what good living is.
You get carried away with life sometimes. It's what I like to call tequila decisions. It's like that point where you're in a bar with that tequila. It's always a bad idea, but you sometimes.
Well, we've been there, Andy.
Exactly. But you sometimes do it, and it's the same in life. You're doing something like that. Oh yeah, this feels like the right thing to do, and then you look back and you're like, that was a tequila moment. that was the end of that particular evening.
I will use that phrase furthermore. That was a tequila moment. You were saying about how music influences life, but life influences music and stuff. And you were playing me this thing before.
I'll play that. It's that thing that. And again, we'll keep going back to the students, but because that's I'm learning as much about how I learned music from teaching it.
Right.
So you come across a realization, and that it's happening all around us. It happens all the time. Music, it's everywhere, and I try and encourage them just to listen. And since I've had the iPhone, or a phone, I mean, there are other phones available in the market.
Disclaimer.
All phones are good. But it's the recording studio in your pocket. You can record memos. I mean, you can do like little. They've got all these recording things now. Got GarageBand and that. I mean, when I used to record when I was younger, it was 4 tracks and a tape 4 tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, what they've got in their pocket is amazing.
It's amazing.
So if you wanted to record something, you'd have to go and get like one of those old tape players and come back out. Now it's always in your pocket. And once I realised that, I'll go through some of the voice messages.
Definitely, please do.
So at one point, I was fascinated by bells. So we'll go through some different ones first.
Yeah.
So these are German bells. Just whenever bells would happen.
Yeah.
There's some Swiss bells. Oh, Spanish bells. Let's try Spanish bells. Literally, there's a whole section.
Is it? And this is just you going around the country just listening to bells.
Yeah. I mean, literally, they're all in a row. Spanish.
Amazing.
Spanish bells under Spanish motorway. Bells, Swiss bells, German bells, and New York bells. Let's see what they are. Yeah. Bells in New York. So, okay. And this is my favorite. In Mexico, when they take the rubbish, when the bin men come, they do a little bell. This is what the bin men come around in Mexico City, and they've got a little bell they ring when you're coming down your street. So if you haven't put your bin out, you know to run down and put your bin out.
Yeah.
So anyway, and in between Mexico trash bells and NY bells, there's a jam in LA somewhere. There's rail crossing San Diego. So I was out for a run in San Diego, same tour, and the barrier came down, so I had to stop. And I had my phone in my pocket. And the crossing, the bell for the crossing was really nice. It was really tuneful. So I just put my phone out, recorded it. And it had a nice rhythm to it as well. And it was nice it was in C. So it was easy to
I was just about to say.
So anyway, well, I'll keep playing that until I find. And then cut to me writing songs for, which album was it? It was for Everything at Once. Here's the song. And it's nothing has changed about it. It's exactly the same speed, exactly the same tone.
Nice.
And
that's fantastic.
That song wouldn't have existed had that barrier not come down in front of me that day.
Right.
That had that sound not happened, there's no way I would have written that song.
Yeah.
Because it's all written from that. I looped it into the Logic and then just started playing around with it after that.
Yeah.
And so there's an instance where without listening to the world, a song would never have existed.
100%.
And I mean, it happens all the time. And I'd say, what are the ones? The system was playing up in the uni the other day.
Yeah.
You remember? And it was an amazing sound. Let's see if I can find it. Which one it is? Maybe one of these. Oh,
I know exactly what you're about to play. Because actually, I walked past it myself and thought, is this Aliens? It's the same thing.
It's a mothership. Yeah. Oh, here we go. I think it would be the 11th of January. How great is that?
That's amazing.
I think I got a better one after that, was it? I mean, that's like Stockhousing, isn't it?
That's it, mate. I think we're going to be beamed up.
I guarantee you that will be somewhere in something I write at some point.
100%.
So it's about constantly listening to the world. I mean, if you look, I mean, and again, classical music did it more. The Messiah, who I love, he did a load of pieces on bird songs.
Yes.
And it's fascinating. It's not the easiest listen. It's not the most melodic listen, but it's really interesting. I think there's a step further to take than that, because as I say, I like Messiah and I like some of his stuff, but that I wouldn't put on, I wouldn't put on his birdsong stuff, really. It's quite, it's not
the bird song.
That's a bird D song.
Sorry, Andy. Sorry.
It's close. I mean, they're very much the same sort of creative thing. No, but so I mean, and there was probably a step after that someone would listen to that and take that a bit further and make it into something that was much more melodic and nice. But there's so much going on around. There's so much noise, and the students will come up and go, "Oh, I've got writer's block," and I'm like that. You're just not listening.
Yeah.
You're just not listening to the world.
Yeah, definitely.
And funnily enough, and Fran always talked about it. I know when he started getting it over the last few years, he said, he didn't feel like he was writing songs. He felt like he was mining for them or diving underwater for them. They were already there, but he was just trying to find them.
Yeah.
And so it's not that thing that we were sort of making up. It already exists.
It's something inside of him, and it's around him.
These melodies exist around the world.
That's fantastic.
It's just trying to find them. It's just trying to pluck them out the air.
Yeah.
And as I say, if you listen, there's always bells. My other one, right? This was an interesting one.
Oh, go on.
We did this thing in London Zoo where you can go and stay the night in London
ZSL.
Zoo. Yeah.
And I did a gig in ZSL.
Excellent, yeah.
And I did it in the tiger enclosure.
Yeah, wow.
In the middle with the tigers.
Wow.
Yeah.
But this one...
It was a friend of mine who's put me up to it and went, "You'll be fine, man."
Yeah. This one... So we went to see... In the morning you go before people come into the zoo. So you get up and there was gibbons. It was a dad and a son gibbon, and they were singing to each other. And he said they don't do it through the day because there's people here. Because they get
weirded out by the people. Right.
But it was the most. Another one here. It's Gibbons. It's a dad and a son talking to each other.
Wow.
It's like a theremin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But all these amazing
Wow.
sounds. Yeah. And that was just a father and a son talking to each other, two Gibbons.
Wow, that's
There's all these
amazing.
amazing sounds out in the world, and then you can just pull them in and just go, okay, there's music there.
Yeah.
Music already exists without. That's the thing as well, and it's like music exists without us.
Yeah.
Because a sea and a sea above it, they exist in science. They exist, the wave patterns,
Yeah.
They
Sound,
exist.
yeah.
It's not us. We're not making music. We're just shaping it. Mm-hmm. We're just taking something.
We're
that
just
exists.
organising it, essentially. Yeah.
Organising it is a good word.
Yeah.
We're just taking these notes and putting them in a certain order.
Yeah.
It already exists without us.
Definitely.
We didn't invent music.
No.
Yeah. So it's taking ownership if it seems weird. We're just as you say, organising it, going, okay, this is my version of these things.
Yeah.
And it's another thing I always say. The two things I say when I start a songwriting course: one, I can't teach you how to write a song. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, day one, I cannot teach
literally
this.
The first thing I'll say is, I can't teach you how to write a song. Sorry about that. So your money's been wasted on me and all this university money down the drain. But no, I can take your ideas, because your ideas, you have to have the ideas, and I can take them and we can make them better. I can show you what's been good about music songs before. I can show you what you can do with them. I can show you.
I can help
tricks
to improve your taste.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I can't write a song for you. I can't make you write a song if you can't do it. So that was the first thing. But then I go, music. It's the perfect blend of science and magic. Mm-hmm. And it's science because, like, you take, say a middle C and you take the C above it, the two waveforms fit directly into it. One's double, exactly the same, and that's where they sound nice.
And harmonic series and all of that.
Exactly. And the funny story I always tell them is, Pythagoras didn't invent the Pythagoras theory, but he did invent the thing with the string.
The thing with the string.
Oh, yeah, so Pythagoras took a string, a guitar string, as I would say, and put it between two fixed points.
Yeah.
And then he realised that if you put your finger exactly in the middle of it, the note will be an octave higher.
Right.
And that was Pythagoras. He didn't invent Pythagoras' theory. That was someone else, and he took credit for it.
Wow.
But he did invent music, basically.
Wow, that's
which
incredible.
is much better than
so a whole
triangles.
concept of octaves and things like that came from
Pythagoras with a string going. Okay, if we took this exactly half in the middle, if it say it's a C, if we put our finger exactly in the middle and play it either side, there'll be a C an octave above.
Wow.
Yeah. So which is much better than triangles.
Yeah.
I don't know why he wanted the credit for the triangles when he invented music. But so it's science. It exists there. And as you say, the harmonic series, that's what creates fifths and thirds and it's all there. And so it's magic. It's science, but it's also magic because I can listen to like a shite Phil Collins song and it can make me cry my eyes out. I'm a grown man, and that's magic.
That is magic. That is magic.
It's like it's amazing what it can do to people.
Yeah,
the power of music. It's like there's points where I'm moved to tears, but still by music.
Definitely,
and I know what it's doing. I know why I'm being manipulated by it. I know exactly what it's. I could reason it and go, you shouldn't be crying at this, but I'll be going, oh.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. The Barber chamber music. That's just beautiful. Every time I see that, and particularly, it always seems to be played. I don't think it's synonymous with it. Actually, it wasn't written for it, but it always seems to be played along with like kind of like war imagery and things like that in lots of films and like especially Hollywood and stuff. And every time I see it, I just there's something to do with that music. Yeah. With those images, I can't help myself. It's just
there's a bit at the end of Appalachian Spring, and I recently and I played it on the piano. I don't know if you saw that. I was playing the piano, the chords, and it's just a set of chords. And am I allowed to play in the podcast? Are we allowed bits of music?
Yeah, we're allowed bits of music.
Okay, let me find it. And it's just the most beautiful chords. And again, it's movement.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful.
See, I did a really bad thing that singers do, but I point the notes when I'm listening to classical music.
Just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Yeah.
And I've studied it. I've learned it all on piano, just to see what it does, see the movement of it. So I know it all. I can reason it all, and I can look at why it's good. And then I listen to it, and it just all that disappears out my brain. And I'm just like, it's just like pure serotonin.
The academia side of it just completely fades away.
Serotonin just floods it all away. Anything I try and think about, I'm just like, this is just so good. I can't think about anything else.
Would you say there's certain pieces that do that to you, or is it?
I still, as I say, I'll still find things every day that does it. But there's certain pieces like likes of that. I'll always know I can go to that.
Yeah.
I'll just be like that, and I'll love it. And it's like one of these sort of comfort blankets of music. You know?
Yeah.
After a bad day, just stick that on, and I'm like, And there's bits of that that I don't like. Of Appalachian Spring. It's bits that are a bit cheesy. And it's not the greatest piece of music ever made, but that one little bit of it will always make me feel good.
Yeah.
And it's weird. And as I say, you can reason it and you can know why, but it still doesn't make any difference. As soon as it's on, I'm just like, it's just all joy.
Yeah. That's it, and it's an instantaneous thing, isn't it? It's not something that is it's not a process, but you're not listening to that and working it out. Is my point. You're not listening to it and going, because it's harmonically related.
I have worked it out before I've listened to it. I sat at the piano and worked out the chords and got that's clever. Oh, that's nice. And then when I listen to it, it's just like
It's totally the difference between your head and your heart. Sort of thing,
exactly.
It's just that,
and the thing is, head's fine. You can use it to make decisions, but it's all your heart. The weirdest thing I ever read somewhere was that here's the weird one. Satie, that wrote the Gymnopédies. He didn't have a piano in his apartment. He wrote all that music just down. It was in his head.
No, really? I did not know that.
Supposedly,
wow.
I don't know. I read it somewhere. I mean, I hope it's true.
Wow. I hope that.
Yeah, because it's amazing. Isn't
That's
it?
an incredible fact. Yeah.
To be able to hear music in your head like that.
Yeah. Didn't what Beethoven did, but didn't Ray Charles do something like that? He didn't. He didn't have. I don't know if this is true, but he had the. I heard he had. He didn't have the money for a piano,
right? Yeah.
So he drew the piano on his windowsill, and would just make the
and he
shapes, and he could hear it in his head.
Oh, that's amazing! I hope
it's not. I hope that's true as well. No, I know.
We'll say it is here. Nobody ever check it.
Let's
just all believe it's true.
Let's just make it a rumor that becomes gospel truth. Yeah.
See, if there wasn't the internet, we could just say anything. It'd be great. That's true, isn't it? Damn the internet.
Yeah, we were beamed up just that moment ago by those aliens.
I know, Damn you, internet, for ruining all my lies.
So you were saying about that. The head is good for making decisions, but that ultimately it comes from the heart. Would you say that that's true about life as well?
Yeah. There comes points where you need to use your head, or you have tequila moments again.
Yeah, of course.
The heart says drink tequila. The head says maybe it's time to go home. Maybe it's time to call an Uber. So it's a mixture. Yeah, you know what I mean. I think you've got to follow your gut instinct at certain points.
It's interesting because I think in music there's the let's call an Uber moment as well. I think sometimes in music when I'm writing stuff or when I spend a lot of time with musicians who they're so absorbed in a particular, it's got to be this.
It's knowing when to stop. Yeah,
they never switch off.
It's funny because I can't remember the name of the artist. When we were at art school, they were telling us about this artist, and he got banned from any of his exhibitions or anywhere where his paintings were hanging because he used to keep brushes in his pocket, and he used to go into the museum and touch up his paintings.
Really?
He never thought they were finished. So he got banned anywhere he had a painting. He was banned from because he'd be caught painting over them. And it's the same with music. You've got to go to that point. Okay, it's been released. That's it. It's finished now.
Does Fran think about music the same way you do, or
he's very hard. He's very, very instinctual. He doesn't want to know anything about music.
Right.
Whenever I've just sort of talked to him, he's like, no, don't tell me that. And it works totally for him.
Yeah.
He will go to me. What's that chord? What's this? Funnily enough, when we released the last album, they did that sort of like famous people ask us questions, for the sort of, and it was Paul McCartney, and he goes, "Do you still call this the one above F?" to Fran? And he's like, "Yeah, that's the one. That's the one chord above F."
Yeah,
and he doesn't want to know the names, and he feels that it will somehow ruin his processes, which I can totally get. And I mean, it obviously works for him.
Yeah,
and I didn't for years. I didn't really know that much. I'd learned piano when I was younger, so I knew like a bit of the theory. But for all the years through the band, I never really knew. And then we had a break of about 3 or 4 years, and I felt a bit of a rut. I felt like I always didn't want a map, but then I'd kind of walked around the whole area of where I knew
Right.
And it was like, I kind of need a little map now.
Yeah,
and it's kind of that thing just to show, oh, there's a paddock over there that's like, whole tones,
Yeah.
It's purely whole tone. And you go in there and you go, okay, this is a bit weird, but kind of there's interesting stuff I can learn.
Yeah.
And so it's like going. So sometimes I find that learning stuff does help you. It's not necessarily the answer, but it's an extra question.
Yeah. Okay.
Question
Interesting.
that you don't ask yourself. You know what I mean? If you don't have the answers, you wouldn't ask yourself the questions.
Yeah, of course. I think it's so interesting to me, the fact that I find that every word you're saying is like to greater or lesser degree, but ultimately it's stuff to do with music that I genuinely feel like I look at life situations in the same way.
Oh, yeah,
I look at that, and one of the things that when going back to teaching again, whenever I've taught anything to do with like say blues and improvising on the blues kind of thing. I always say, like, improvising is just happening now, like in conversation, isn't it? It's something like so right there and then. Anything that's to do with the sort of the rules of conversation, you need to know certain stuff. You need to know sentences, how words are put together. How grammar. You need to have a basic.
If you stick to those rules totally, then you won't be able to have a conversation.
I would never reverse. How to say hello, Andy.
You don't know what's going to happen after that.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and it is that thing. You'll sometimes see the purely sort of taught players. Play something over like a passage that's so wrong. But they're playing what they think is right. And it's like really good players, but they're playing these notes and I'm like, whoa, but they think it's right. They think it's because they've been taught this sort of a certain set of rules. That don't always apply, or that shift sometimes. And they're not shifting with the music. They're like, this is a rule. This is a rule. This is a rule. I mean, that happened only the other day, and someone's playing something like that. That's just weird. It's just wrong. I mean, it's not even like sort of jazz. It's wrong. But they were good. They're great player, good player. It's cause it's like having a conversation with that. We're only going to talk about chips today, and then you start talking about like sort of beans, and I'm like that. Yeah, chips are great, and you're like, but what do you think about beans? Chips, they're filled with potato. But what do you think about beans? They're lovely with a bit of salt and vinegar on the chips. And you're sticking to the same conversation without moving with where it goes, and you see that with a lot of musicians.
Definitely, I to bring it kind of back around that I would argue that's to do with their taste. I think it's absolutely down to that those types of people who sort of their taste is so sort of narrow. It's kind of it's quite myopic, and they're quite sort of tunnel visioned on. I like this stuff. This is how it sounds. This is what I think it should sound like. This is what I will only play.
This is a style I play.
I remember touring with Rick Vito from Fleetwood Mac, and we were doing. We were doing blues stuff actually, and he my whole sort of headspace on it was all to do with like I think what was the tune we were doing? Rattlesnake Shake. And it's like dead moody kind of bluesy cool thing, and my whole approach to playing with it and everything was like lots of chops and lots of solos and things like that. And his whole thing was he got a slide and went right up to an A minor and just went. And that was it. That was all he did, and there was more to it. But it was like everything he did. I was like, that sounds so much cooler than whatever I'm doing. It really made me think. It really made me sort of evaluate my taste. It really made me think like, wow, he's doing so little, and yet it's so much. And I'm trying my hardest to include all these things, and I'm just not satisfied.
What you do is how you do it.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's that thing that if you're speaking in a language that not necessarily everyone understands, because it's a musical language, say with the chops, which it's quite sort of, and not everybody will understand it. Whereas everyone will understand a slide up to a note. It's like a nice easy language. But if it's done well, it's like. Is it French food? I always say it's just cooked really simply, but you just use really good ingredients. Do you know what I mean? It is that thing. That's why it's so tasty. You just use the best ingredients, but it's dead simple.
Hey, a lot of food references today, isn't it? I'm loving it.
I'm hungry.
The chef is coming in now.
But it was, again, it's all life, isn't it?
Of course, absolutely.
And it does. I mean, music has a metaphor for so many different things.
Completely.
Because it's about taste. It's about how you choose to present yourself.
That's a brilliant phrase. Yeah, that's a brilliant phrase. What's next for you now? What's kind of in general?
Keeping on. Just life's. I've got a really good balance at the moment. I love the teaching. I love doing the band. I've been enjoying doing. I mean, I still do art as well, like painting and but like the books and everything, and then writing music and just. I'm in a really good place at the moment. I'm really enjoying life. It's just everything I'm doing is fulfilling me at the moment.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
And surely that's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, no. So just keep on keeping on it the way it is at the moment, and it's once we start touring again, because I've missed the touring, I must admit, I missed the shows.
Right, so, over the lockdown.
Yeah, over
lockdown.
Kind of stuff, I mean, we were meant to be playing, like the last couple of years, and I miss that. But that gets harder as you get older. Touring,
It's hard anyway. It's hard anyway.
I mean, there's bits of it that are amazing. I'm doing a show, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I was talking to Nick about the place, and it's sitting in little vans is what kills touring. Because you get to the airport and you're like, yay, we're in Italy, we're in Rome, and then you're like, no, you're not. You've got 3 hours in a little tiny van with each other looking at each other's faces until you're actually in Rome.
And when you get to the venue, it's in a dark back room somewhere.
But then you get to the hotel and you're like, okay, we'll go to the venue. It's like, it's 45 minutes in really hellish traffic across town in a little van where you're all sat there like that together. And it's those bits of touring that drill you down. So like nobody sees that, but because you get off a plane, you're like, we're there and you relax and you're like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
It's 3 hours in like a really busy motorway.
I know. I went to see an artist recently that she's literally just like a couple of weeks ago just got off Letterman. So she's doing fantastically well. Went to go see her and met her at the venue, and we went backstage, and I was thinking, she's just on Letterman. This is going to be gold plated. I was thinking it, and as soon as we walked in, it was honestly, it was a cupboard. Yeah, it was a wet cupboard. Yeah, like that she was in, and I was just like, this is like an A-list. Yeah.
It's like a toilet with 5 million band names written in Sharpie on the wall. That's really what it is. Most dressing rooms are toilets with 5 million Sharpie names.
And then she goes out and goes, hi, everyone.
The glamour of touring. Yeah, I mean,
so cool.
Do you know what? We got to the point, the hotels are generally nice.
The Premier Inn.
You can't beat a Premier Inn. There are other hotels.
There are other hotels.
But it's fine. I love touring. I do love it, and I love bits of it. But there's bits of it that get harder and harder as the years go on. So we used to do like 250 shows a year. We don't do that anymore. So once we start touring, I was getting the balance between that and the teaching and doing other little bits. But it's just finding that right. So but it's great. I love life at the moment. It's
brilliant.
It's fun.
Brilliant.
I think with the teaching, I've really it's challenged me,
right,
to look at everything that I love and to look at it and enjoy it even more.
And enjoy it even, and explain why you love it, and
and just it's challenged me and go, okay, you love this thing, why do you love it, and how are you going to teach other people to love it, and how are you going to convey that you love it across them, and then by looking at that, I'm like, I really do love this, and things that maybe I started to take for granted, I've stopped taking for granted again, and going, oh yeah, that's why I love this, and looked at them afresh again. So it's really given me a new lease on like some music,
brilliant. That's amazing, mate. That's really amazing.
Some days you'll see me at the end of the day. I'm like, that was dog shit.
I mean, there's grueling days.
Yeah. Some days are, but in general, it's been amazing. It's been really, really rewarding and really and spiritually for me, just actually learning about myself as much as teaching anyone.
Brilliant.
And that's when you come across someone new with talent, which. It's harder and harder these days outside of like education.
I know what you mean.
There's so much noise in music.
Saturated, isn't it?
So when you're focusing on these young people and their talents, when you see someone with a real talent and something unique, it's really refreshing and invigorating. You're like, oh wow, that's amazing. And you learn so much from them.
Yeah, definitely.
I
agree.
It gives you more focus on talent and what different talent than
and
yourself.
What drives them and
exactly.
and how they tick and speaking of the taste thing, just to sort of round it off, I find that they introduce me to stuff as well. I find that I constantly I'm into this band and what is it? And
Lawrence,
I'm like,
that Lawrence was first introduced to me by John, So was the student that got me into that.
Yeah,
and what is it? That band Polyphia, is it?
Oh, yeah,
Never heard them before until the other day.
Yeah, interesting.
And I tried to go, you know, it's like that. Whoa, what on earth is this? You know,
interesting.
Yeah, so it instills me with confidence that there still is good music out there.
Definitely. I think it's a myth all that, like, you know, music was better than the old days.
I've always said, because like, listen, someone who was just like young in the 80s, you know what I mean? You know, it was terrible at the time. It was awful, and then you look back at it now and it looks amazing. I think because what we get given is a potted history of it. If you look at the 80s now, you get all the best bits, some of the funny bits, some of the shit bits, you know, and that's it, you know. Whereas living through it, you had all the grey stuff as well, you know, in between. It was just rubbish. It had no sort of good about it at all. That all disappears in time. It just all gets sifted away. It's like panning for gold. You're left with the nuggets, and you look back in a decade, and it's great. And it's the same now. There will be great stuff from now.
100%. There'll be stuff that people are talking about forever from now. Yeah, definitely. I agree. Like the classics and stuff. Yeah, definitely. Amazing. Well, Andy, thank you so much for coming to speak.
It's good to chat, actually.
Yeah, definitely. Next time, I promise, we'll have like a Talisker just sat there, and we'll get really...
2 Taliskers, 1 tequila, and it's whoever makes the bad choice.
Whoever makes the bad choice can drink the tequila as well. Thank you so much, mate.
No worries.